This little beast is my 2019 Honda CB300R. And I took this in on trade against my 2022 Honda CB500X. This had about 4,200 miles on it when I got it. It's got a little over 6,000 on it now. And I've added a few things to it. And I realized that I hadn't done a video on this when I was doing the new video on my newest bike, the Kawasaki Eliminator, which I just published my video on that. So anyway, on this one, like all my bikes, we put the grip puppies on it. And I've got a switch here, which turns on my safety lights in the front. And because this tail rack sticks out so far over the brake light that you probably can't see it, so I put a strobing brake light on it. The carry rack I just made from some 3/4 inch square stock and a couple of pieces of strap iron, 1/8 inch. No new holes drilled. And I make it big enough to hold a Nelson rig. And I like these Nelson rig tail bags because they unzip in another portion right here, and then they get quite a bit taller, and you can get a full face helmet in those. I have a throttle lock on it for long flat roads. And I put a helmet lock on it because bikes nowadays just don't come with helmet locks on them. And I put a louder horn on it. But that's all I've done to this. The dash on it has got a tachometer which you can adjust to 100 RPM increments, unlike the Kawasaki Eliminator, which is stuck on 500 RPM increments. It has a fuel gauge, and it has a temperature gauge over here in the corner, which is where it should have the gear change indicator, because the new ones do. And I missed that. I wish this had it. This has got your average mile per gallon, how many gallons you've used, average mile an hour, your instant mile per gallon, your average mile per hour, and how many gallons you used. Again, we're back to that. It lacks a range. It does not have the range on it, which I wish it did. 79.4 mile per gallon average. It gets, it'll be a little higher than that. If I filled it up right now, it would get about 83. But we've used 1 gallon of gas. And on the top one, we've got trip A, B, a stopwatch, and total miles. It's a nice little bike, but it does have some vibration because it's a single cylinder. And it has a very stiff ride. It's got a hard saddle combined with a terrible monoshock that's too stiff for a lightweight bike. This bike only weighs 316 pounds, and it's a very small bike. It was designed for small and lightweight people, except for the suspension and the saddle. They were designed for a 250-pound guy, and the bumps on the road are, they're pretty extreme. So it's not a good long-distance bike unless you've got a good road. I was looking at a custom rear shock for it, but they're $360. They've got rebound dampener control on them, which they say will smooth that out on rough roads, but we'll see. I may get one eventually. I did order a windshield, a Puig, P-U-I-G windshield made especially for this bike. It won't be in for a couple of weeks yet. But that's about all there is to show on this bike. It does have a nice sound because it's a single cylinder. It's got a lot of power. It's got a lot more get up and go than my Versys X300 did. And that's because the RPMs had to get up so high to bring the power out of that Versys. And this has much better low end on it. So when you open the throttle on takeoff, it really scats. It could easily beat a Versys X twin cylinder in a drag race. Don't know if it could on top end, but because this tops out about 82 miles an hour, 85 miles an hour maybe. But anyway, I think I got well over 90 miles an hour with the Versys X. I'm just coming out of Lake Roberts. And heading towards Pineal's Altos. Like I said, this only has a 300cc engine in it, but it's got a lot of torque and get up and go from the time you start out going up through the gears. However, when you get to about 55 miles an hour and you crack the throttle open all the way, you don't really feel any power come on. It's doesn't have a lot of top end. It'll cruise 80 miles an hour on the freeway, but it just doesn't have any set you back in the seat power when you open the throttle up. However, it does when you're first taking off and going up through the gears. It really picks up speed quickly. It has plenty of power to pass vehicles on the road at any speed, and it's got a lot of lugging power so that you can cruise on these twisty back roads in the hills of New Mexico. Here's a better look at Lake Roberts. I had stopped at a picnic ground on the other side of the lake there for lunch today. I'm a little low on fuel, and I don't know if I can make it to Pineal Altos, which has no gas there, but I would have to go through there and get down to Silver City. I'm hoping that there's some place that's got a little bit of gas in this little tourist area at the bottom of this small mountain. I'm trying out a new wireless microphone for my Insta360 camera today, and I can only hope that it's working. Let's see, they used to have some ice cream at this shop, but I don't think they're open. No, judging by the number of packages that have been delivered to their front porch there's probably nobody here. It doesn't look like there's any gas here to buy. This place is for sale, and it's closed. Everything is closed up here. Make it to Silver City, 29 miles. I've only used 0.8 of a gallon, going 75 miles. Only got 29 miles to go. And I got 1.2 gallons that I can count on. And then I've got 0.67 left over for reserve. Should be able to make it with no problem. This is such beautiful country up here. It gets snow in the winter. It's not much farther north than where I live in Deming, New Mexico, but it's a little higher in elevation, and you can tell by all the greenery that they obviously get a lot more moisture from snow in this part of the country. So I wouldn't want to live up here in the winter, because then I'd have to have a four-wheel drive vehicle to get around. But it's a very nice place to go to in the summer when it's hot down in Deming. You can come up here into the mountains. There's campgrounds all over the place. You can go camping, you can go fishing and swimming in Lake Roberts, and also a little further down the road that I already went past on the way up here is another lake called Bear Lake, and that's a very nice fishing spot also. Although I have never fished either one of them, I keep threatening to bring my pole up here and do some fishing, but I just never have. This little 300 is the perfect bike for doing the twisties. It's very lightweight, so that makes it extremely nimble. It's got plenty of power for the twisties, even going straight up the mountains. Of course, I'm going down them now, but it has excellent brakes. Like most of the bikes that I have, the rear brakes are not very good on, but the front brakes are excellent. This is not the ABS model. I think you had a choice in 2019 of getting the ABS model or the non-ABS. The guy I got this from was a second owner, but the first owner that bought it bought the one without ABS, and maybe that's all he could get at the time. My new Kawasaki Eliminator 450 is the non-ABS model, but they didn't have any ABS models in stock. They had two of these, one in ghost gray and in white, and so I bought the white one. But I'm not a big fan of ABS, but that's just my opinion. Pineal's Altos in Silver City to the left. If you go to the right, that'll take you up to the Gila Cliff Dwellings. I don't know if you could hear that engine going up through the gears there with this new microphone system I've got, but I hope you could. Now the roads get really steep and twisty. This bike has a tremendous amount of power in the lower gears. It feels like you're riding a 650. You can also lug it down coming out of the corners. It does have a lot of lugging power because it's a single cylinder. You can hear it lugging there. Well, I did turn the microphone around, so I thought I'd see how that affects the sound. See if you can hear me better or worse when it was turned slightly away from my mouth. I do like the sound of the engine on this bike, as it sounds like a single cylinder tractor. The twin cylinder naked bikes are too smooth to be exciting, but the single cylinder ones have a very pleasant sound. We're coming into Pineal's Altos right now. It's an old mining town, very old. It was a ghost town almost exclusively at one time, but it has been revived and turned into a kind of a tourist trap. The old Buckhorn Saloon there, this stuff dates back to the 1860s. There's an old fort right here on the right hand side, Fort Cobb. Cobre. Can't tell if that's two B's or a B and an R. My one complaint about this bike is the rough ride. The bike is a blast to ride. It's just great through the twisties, and it has plenty of power for anything you want to do, but you'll get tired of the way it rides pretty quickly. We are coming into Silver City, and I've been on the road 102.5 miles. It says I'm getting 94.4 miles to the gallon, and it says I've used 1 gallon of gas. Well, I know I'm not getting 102.7 miles to a gallon, but even when it shows I'm getting 94, I'm probably getting closer to 86 today. We will skirt the edge of Silver City. No reason to go downtown because I don't need gas that bad yet. I've still got 1.67 gallons in the tank. I'll wait till I get to the next small town to top off the tank in order to make sure I have enough for the return trip. Well, I stopped to gas up. I took 1.27 gallons, and the bike said I had used 1.1, so that was off by 1.7. I'm sorry, it was off by 0.17 gallons. The bike said I got 94.4 miles to the gallon, and actual calculation showed I got 88. I'm happy at 88 miles to the gallon. Okay, time to go on. Little town of Bayard, New Mexico. You can see the mine tailings a little closer now. They have some pretty colors in them, but they sure destroy the landscape. Oh well, it's all about money. We're a capitalistic country. This is a mining road. It goes over top of this state highway to get to another part of the mines. These are copper mines, by the way. Santa Rita copper mines. The vibration isn't bad on this bike. It's a single cylinder, so you're going to get some buzzing in the handlebars, even with the grip puppies, grip protectors. Right now I'm about 6,000 RPM. I can feel the buzz in the handlebars, a little bit in the rubber foot pegs. At 7,000 RPM, the buzz becomes a lot more pronounced. 67 miles an hour, 65.
At 8,000 RPM, or about 75 miles an hour, the vibration has gotten a little bit less. And it's much less at 6,000 than it is at 8,000. 7 seems to be about the worst. At 5,500, there's almost no vibration at about 50 miles an hour. At 5,000 RPM, or 45 miles an hour, it's very smooth. So it's pretty linear. The faster you go, 55, feeling a little bit, 6, a little bit more, still not unpleasant at 55 miles an hour. At 6,500 RPMs, or 60 miles an hour, it's starting to buzz a little too much. You'd get tired of it after a while, probably. At 7,000 RPM or 65, you definitely have a good buzz on the handlebars. Not quite as bad in the foot pegs.